Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Brace for Impact. I'm Parks, and of course, with me, as always, is Benikage. It's been a few weeks, man. How are we doing?
Uh, that's a loaded question. We're doing a lot better. We're doing a lot better. I'm ready for. I don't like Christmas. It's a very rough time of year for me. I know people are gonna say you're a Scrooge, but it's just I had the passing of a very good friend like 3 days before Christmas, so it's generally always like a difficult
Yeah,
time. Now that we're in that week, this recording on the 19th of December, that I'm kind of ready for it to be over, man. I'm ready for the new year.
it's one
How
of
are
those
you?
things. I mean, I'm pretty pumped because it has been a really good week for me. 5 days of Counter Strike does that to you. Lots of casting came
Yeah,
through,
with the
so
with, with the with the Snicky co-cast.
yeah, it was all really, really good. So
Yeah.
I'm I'm honestly I'm floored, and I have been so thankful for him helping me out with that kind of stuff because there's some things like I know we talk about casting hours, like your casting hours are kind of done for the near future, which sucks so hard.
Well, it's just
Uh,
so like a computer back. Like
yeah,
it'll be like really honestly until the new season. That's it.
yeah, and then you'll be back. But we missed you. We missed you in the casting side of stuff.
Thank you.
All right, we have a lot to talk about today. It has been a
Yeah.
few weeks.
On.
There's
Yeah.
a good list coming through.
Yeah.
Um, I think the first thing we should start off with though is kind of a continuation of our HLTV talk from last time because I know we hit on
Right.
some really good points of they're not really following up on stuff, and you kind of look back at that and I guess you thought it's nice to talk about it with one person. Let's get some more people in on this.
Yeah. And so we took a Twitter poll. I did the Elon Musk thing, man. Took a Twitter poll. Okay, and it's not a I will abide by the result of this poll. Very topical. But anyway, it is just generally like an overall thing because I don't know if you know that, but we had the Bali land, so we had the IESF land
Yep.
for the women's scene, right? And it was a $50,000 land, and I looked at it and said this should have HLTV all over it. Like it's $50,000, and it's an offline environment. Like anywhere else in this scene, that is going to be a whole tournament page. Philadelphia, which I think was a $60,000 tournament last edition, but definitely previously when it's been like a $30,000 tournament, the extensive coverage from HLTV. So, and that's for an amateur tournament. Remember, that's semi-professional. You could argue, but it's always billed as North America's largest amateur tournament. So it's like amateur to semi-professional versus this, which is a professional tournament. Granted, it is IESF, things like that. So
Yeah.
I took a poll, 4 questions. The first, should HLTV have a tournament page for $50,000 international land? 37 votes. One person voted, I'm sorry, two people voted no. 35 people voted yes.
There you
And I
go.
would agree with them. I would be interested to get your opinion, Parks.
Oh, I said
Did you
yes.
vote? Yeah,
Like
I mean, I think it's pretty straightforward at
I think it's
50,000.
pretty straightforward. I also think you look at that and you can't just say the cash is the only defining point, but I think you continue on down
Right.
here with the other polls that it's not just a cash thing. There's also other kind of quantifiers that you went through.
Right, and the other 3 real quick was, should the tournament page include the entire bracket, just the final, or from the semifinals on? Nobody voted just the grand final, which is eventually what we got in terms of the HLTV coverage.
Yeah.
Um, it was 20 votes. 5 people said from the semifinals on, which would have been winners final, losers final, grand final.
Yep.
Um, in that case, technically, and then but the other 15 said the entire bracket should be on the HLTV. And then on the third poll, 18 people, should the tournament page be made only if it's a tier one event, only if it's a tier two and up event, meaning the way
Like
I
a
classify this, tier one is like top 30 HLTV,
yep.
and tier two is like ECL league kind of level teams,
Like a
right?
CCT or something. Something that's not like
Correct.
a bigger land. Something that's it's going to be the up and coming teams that haven't really cracked into the top tier
Correct.
stuff
Or
yet.
or the equivalent of like the We Play Academy League, since
Yep.
they're all academy teams technically, right? Or should it just include any professional side, no matter what tier that professional side is in, which to me would be like advanced league, organizations.
Advanced in there. Yeah, the ones that
Correct.
they don't get any exposure because there's not really much tournaments for them. It's still the very grassroots level at that point.
Correct. Correct. 2 people voted only tier 1. 4 people voted tier 2 and up only. And then the remaining 12 people voted any professional side.
Yeah.
So, which would include these teams like Navi Javelins and all that stuff. And the last thing I put is, should the TO and or the reach of the tournament is based in matter whether or not the tournament page is created on HLTV? Because obviously ESL is a major tournament page. if you get like not um CCT, but like for example, EGL Premier would be a good
Yeah.
example, right? Yes, they've run tournaments before, very inconsistent in terms of when they run it because it's based on funding and things like that. And obviously we talked last episode about the kind of anonymity of the Asia Pacific region and how it's hard to track information there, and would that make a difference versus say Europe? And they still, despite what 17 people voted, 13 people said no, it shouldn't matter.
Yeah.
So the majority of these polls, no matter the conditions that were given to try and narrow down whether or not the majority is yes, it should be on HLTV, shouldn't matter what professional side, and should be the entire bracket.
Yeah.
And we only got the grand final listed for this event, so it goes more to the point that like there's not really a viable reason why, even in the public side. Granted,
Yeah.
public opinion is not the court of public opinion is not one in which convictions are made, but even within that court of public opinion, this should be getting more coverage than it did, and that was the point of the polls. So we'll see if it changes going forward.
Yeah.
I mean, season 3 at Impact, certainly they're going to be at the Katowice land. I mean, that's the first thing, and we did get some of the qualifiers on the HLTV page too.
Yeah, we
So
did.
it does look like between the last two episodes, actually, there has been a little bit of a change because not only did we get the qualifier page, but we're going to have end of the year awards for female player
Yeah.
of the year, female team of the year as well from HLTV. So I, even between the last episode and kind of the rant that I went on, there's been progress that looks to have been made. Certainly more can be done, but at least it looks like a step has been made by HLTV forward to expand their coverage of the women's scene.
Exactly. And I mean, that's all we were asking for. It's the step in the right direction that we're looking for. They're taking their time with it, which, kind of hurts. It's taken a long time. Lots of patience comes
Yeah.
in. It's not ESIC levels yet. We'll put it there. They're not ESIC. They're
Yeah.
HLTV. It's going to take them a little bit. Are there a lot of qualifiers that come in terms of what they should, what they can, what they can't do? Yes. What are we asking? We're just asking for a bit more. That's what everybody's wanting, just a bit more for us and for our scene, for all these scenes that like they don't have this ability to help themselves. So that's kind of what it comes up with. Um,
I agree.
Listen, HLTV, they're on their way. We'll get there.
Yeah.
Speaking of
Dustin
qualifiers,
do a great job, by the way.
oh yeah,
Love their coverage.
oh my goodness, Dust 2,
Ryan
they've
got
been
a
picking
little
up.
defensive, and I didn't mean to. Real quick, Ryan got a little defensive, and I didn't mean to call him out. Like it wasn't the call out. Like I just thought there's like the base amount of
Yeah,
article, but like they're doing a very good job. And the Dust2.br, for the Brazilian affiliate, covered Masters Feminina so extensively over the weekend. I mean, just articles after series were completed, multiple. Like it was just that's what we're looking for. It's just get somebody in there who knows the scene, who's willing to cover it,
yeah.
and it's fantastic. Dust2 has been fantastic.
Yeah, they're trying to step up, and I've talked to Ryan about this. There's a lot that they don't know about the scene. There's a lot that they're trying to get from people who know the scene. It's gonna take time, but they're trying, and that's where we're kind of coming from on that.
Right.
Before I got to segue there, you cut me off. But speaking of qualifiers, we had a few
Yes.
happen for Katowice.
Oh, they were so good.
There were a lot of good matches. So it ended up working out with the kind of where the qualifier slots went. You had 2 for EU, you had 1 for NA, and you had 1 for South America. So
Right.
with NA and South America, they had an extra day where they had to play the 2 winners of the 2 qualifiers had to play each other for the winner. That's kind of where that comes through. As for EU, it's a bit different. It was just you win a qualifier, you're in, and maybe you can talk a little bit about those. So start us off. Which team do you want to go with first here? Because there was 2.
We'll go with qualifier number 1, which is Navi.
Yeah.
Navi Javelins, huge win. Played really good Counter Strike. And what I like is like we saw in Impact Season 2, right? They went 6-0 in the groups, and then when it mattered most, they just couldn't get it over the line. It was heartbreaking for them. And this time, completely didn't look like that. They had some close games, but you could tell. I don't know. There was a toss that got tossed. There was a term that got tossed around a lot that about the eye test. But it's like when you're watching sport, you can do it with football, you can do it with
Yeah.
Counter Strike, you can do it with anything. You're watching sport, you say this team is definitely just if they got a little bit more edge to them, right? And not if Navi felt like that in the first qualifier, and they did. They went all the way through, and it's fantastic for them because it's Polish side, and they're playing in Poland in front of home, and they're a good team. Like this is a team that can make waves at land. They can really give some teams problems. Sure, maybe they're not going to be up there with the Enigma Galaxy, but like they can give CLG problems, they give HSG problems. They probably can't give Furia problems either. But they might be able to give B4 problems. Like there's going to be a competitive team in Katowice, so I'm so happy they won the first qualifier.
Yeah, and then I mean, you look, they beat MVP, they beat Ninjas in Pajamas, and of course they 2-0'd Pandas Fearless, 9 Pandas Fearless, sorry, who
It was the side that beat them to get to
yeah, I was
the
gonna say
the
that looks
Speed
like the No Fear 5 side that got signed to, or changed their
Yes,
name or something to,
yes, they got signed by 9 Pandas in
which is
Oregon.
crazy. That's great.
Yeah,
That's exactly what we're looking for, right? You make
yeah,
waves, you
yeah.
get signed. Boom, done. Amazing.
Well, foreshadowing there. We'll come back to that. Uh, but the second qualifier actually, Parks was 9 Pandas,
Yeah,
and I'm gutted because I like I do like this team. I do like some of these players. I think Fatal's a really good player. I think KSU is also a very good player. Newt came out with the statistics. I don't know if you saw them. I had
I
commented.
haven't had a check to look. I haven't had a chance to look at them, but I have seen he's put them up.
KSU played 11 maps in that qualifier. Okay, and she averaged a 1.26 KD and a 1.24 rating over the 11 maps. That is such consistency. Like KSU was so incredible in this qualifier um, for 9 Pandas. They're like I don't want to say she's the reason they're going to land, but like she was just so immensely huge. It was great to see her return to that kind of form that like I last saw when she was taking No Fear 5 to the finals of the Ambush seasonal cups back in 2020.
Yeah.
And to have Fatal back in this team, very good. So I was gutted because I love the big keeper girls. I
Yes.
love D7 and Ida and Zana. I think they've been great. They've been very competitive for years. And that series we got between those two was fantastic. 16-10, a 16-12, and then a 16-14,
Yeah.
which included a comeback. Like that Vertigo, Big were up, I think, 9-6 or 10-5 at the half or something like that. I think it was 9-6 at the half. And then 9 Pandas came right back and just stormed into the lead. And it
Yeah.
was like 14-10 or something. And then Big stormed right back and then to make it 14-14, and they had 9 Pandas with 3 players on pistol in round 29, lost the round, and then lost the following one because they had to go in with Famises and MP9s. And I was like, oh, that's so
Gutting.
heartbreaking. You know what I mean? That is
Gutting.
so heartbreaking to be that close. But well played, the 9 Pandas. They're a really good team as well. Um, this is going to be a pretty stacked field at Katowice, but all 3 European teams going to bring some real big firepower.
Yeah. And I mean, I kind of just noticed this looking at the Wikipedia page. If you beat Nip, you got through. So that's a funny little tidbit there. That they can hold their heads high about. You just
What was 9 Pandas running that second qualifier? Didn't they
they
go
beat
through like
Shinigami, and then they 16-12 Ninjas in Pajamas, and they 2-1
right,
Big Akiba. So,
right?
really cool to see. And I mean, listen, the EU side of stuff, they're always going to have more teams. There's always more availability. I mean, Astralis have a team. Copenhagen Flames have their Shield Maidens. There's Nip
Yeah, they
female.
played well as well, and the Astralis big game was extremely close too. Like it was a really good qualifier if you caught it.
Yeah. Moving on, we're gonna go to South America because this is probably the next best one in terms of.
Okay,
We're
I
gonna
was
leave
gonna
the
say
big
we'll go North
storyline.
America
We're gonna
first,
big
but
no, we're gonna leave the big storyline to the end, just because this is a
okay,
North
all right,
American
all right,
podcast. um, got
fair
you,
enough,
got you.
fair enough,
Yeah, Open Qualifier number one, before esports went through.
right? Pretty
Eh,
pretty unopposed, like
yeah,
pretty clean.
it was a 2-0 in towards, yeah, they did
I think they beat W7M to get
W7M,
to
yeah. So
the
MIBR lost to W7M, and
right.
before,
That was a big surprise, by the way.
yeah, that, well, I mean, you look at the matches that came through. B4 female beat Endgame, and you look at
Yeah,
all those matches in that open qualifier. Nobody got double digits on them, and that
yeah,
MIBR and W7M game went 16-14. Like that was very close to
right,
going over.
yeah.
And
That's a really good, real quick. I'm sorry.
yeah,
It's a really good thing to just watch out for going into 2023 because Bokor is the IGL of that side,
yeah,
and you look at those players, and they're good players, right? But you wouldn't when you always look at the lineups, right? You always are like, oh, Fury is so good. Oh, B4 is so good. Oh, MIPR is really good. Little C's got so much. She's so dynamic with the op. She's yeah, and whatnot. And like, here's an IGL coming up with W7M, who's really made W7M a tricky team to beat. They don't always consistently beat MABR or before or Furia, but they're going to give you 10, 12, 13 rounds, like consistently a good team and very competitive.
Well, yeah, and then I mean that leads us right back into the second qualifier, which they don't have much of a record on. At least it was MIBR and Endgame that played it, so I guess W7M didn't participate,
Correct.
and it was just a 2-1 for MIBR. So they got through to the decider match, which was the I think it was even the next day. That's kind of how it worked in NA.
Yes, it was Sunday.
Yeah, it
Yes.
was it was Sunday, so they had a 2-day break because it was just one match, so they had to play out. So B4 versus MIBR, and I mean the first map was not close at all on Inferno. That was a 16-6 for
Yeah,
B4,
B4 way better on that map.
and then they went to Anubis.
Yep.
This is something interesting. We didn't see much of
Yep.
this in NA. NA kind of just stuck to the same. They stuck to the same formula. The format it changed. The maps that they like, right? That's where they stuck to it. Brazil just went full
Yep.
on. We're gonna bring out Anubis. Why not?
Yep.
Anubis
They
time.
look, the wonderful thing about um Brazilian scene is first off they all played Dust 2.
Yeah,
So the question it's kind of like Train, right? Remember when Train went out of the map, but we're looking at like even before Giuliano's team Xset went to Valorant, and you're
yeah,
looking at them and going, they play Train, Nigma play Train, CLG play Train, Dignitas play Train. What's going to replace Train in these map pools, right? Brazilian scene is the same issue right now because they all played Dust 2. They were all really competitive on Dust 2,
yeah.
really good on Dust 2, and now Dust 2's gone. So it's like, what is going to be that map? And I think you look at teams like Furia and B4, and they want to experiment on the Anubis, and you look at teams like MIBR and W7M, and they want to drill in the Mirage a little bit more. So I think you're going to start to see this a little bit of the separation in the map pools. But anyway, continue. I'm sorry.
I know. It's just not much to continue with there. Like a 16-19 on Anubis. That just I like to think that because they're replacing their map, like I know we've seen a few NA teams they kind of trialed around with Ancient a little bit. They're trying
Yeah,
to figure out. I'd be interested to see each region kind of pick out a map that they like in particular. And if the Brazilians are going to play Anubis and they're better than everybody else on Anubis, they're going to
yeah,
continue to pick Anubis, and that's going to have to become a permanent ban from the teams. And all of a sudden, like the dynamics changing all around just because new maps are coming in and the teams are experimenting and playing with it. That's why we switch up the map pool even as irregularly as it is.
and that's the thing. Like when they go to international land, since Nigma are so good on 5, 6 maps, like did Nigma just say we could float it and then give it the second ban? We know some teams that won't play Anubis. Probably we could let them ban it, and they still ban into our map pool. Like, is this where Brazilian teams can find an edge over Enigma Galaxy? Right.
Yeah.
So that is going to be the storyline I think going into Katowice too. But um, yeah, look, in-game leaders, good in-game leaders, Gabi, and I think it's Gabi for Furia, and Goddess for B4. They're not afraid to experiment. The moment Ancient came in, both those teams picked it right up. They're very good on Ancient now. It's not like, their top map, it's not their second map, but they're competitive on it. They know how to play it. They're not afraid to play it against you. Anubis looks to be going the same way with them, which I absolutely love. But it was a great match, by the way. I think it was the first half. B4 were rolling away with it, and then MIBR kind of clawed them back, and I think B4 had to clutch it to go to OT. Oh no, MIBR had a 4v2, and I think it was Nani with an MP9 sprayed down 3 and then got traded. And B4 lost the 1v1 for MIBR to force the overtime, and then B4 took it on the T side in overtime. So it was a really good game. Really good game.
I mean, yeah. I don't know where to take that. Like, uh, I'm excited to see B4 at the LAN at Katowice. Fury are already there, so
Yeah.
what's to worry, right? They're there. They're good. Um,
Yeah.
it's exciting overall, really.
I mean,
As
if there's any team out of Brazil that you would pick, is this not the team that you would want to pick to come out of Brazil? Like, if
B4,
you want a stacked tournament, yeah. If you want
I
a really stacked tournament with the best teams,
Benny, you're the one who follows all the international stuff.
that's what I'm saying. Like you're looking at this. I know MMPR's got the branding and all that stuff. Don't
Yeah,
get me wrong. I do like the team. I love a lot of their players as well. Very fun team. Some players very young on there, really promising as well. But like if you look at competitively where these teams in Brazil were in the second half of this year,
Yeah,
you want the most talented land with the best teams in the world, you're picking B4 out of that lot.
good to
And
know.
that's what we got. So
Perfect.
I think it's fantastic. And there's a big reason why you're picking B4 out of that lot. Parks? It's a big reason why.
What's her name? The young talent upstart coming through.
Poppins, that's a good reason. That
Poppins.
wasn't gonna be my reason. It's because they just did something that few other teams have been able to do. And I think no other team's been able to do this year. I might be wrong on that, but at least it's only happened like 6 times since 2020
Yeah,
or 2021. And that is they beat Fury in a best of three.
yeah. I mean, that's the whole of the next thing. Masters Feminina. That was a thing that happened 2 weekends ago. Of course,
Yep.
we have to cover it because of the delays in between the episodes. Masters
Right.
Feminina, which I know you mentioned early on, Dust 2 Brazil. They had the coverage of it. There's plenty of it out there. Walk me through it. Walk me through it. I have not. You have to remember, I have no
Really,
idea about these things.
really good tournament. It's a little bit foggy now because I'm old, and it's 2 weeks ago. But look, it was very competitive, and B4 had to go through lower bracket, and I think Fury might have sent them down there actually, but they had to run through the lower bracket. And the bracket was basically playing out exactly as you would have thought, right? Like MIBR went to the lower bracket, Black Dragons went to the lower bracket, W7M, like all these other things, right? Whatever. But because remember, B4 had to come in through a qualifier. So I
Yeah.
think the two qualified teams were Black Dragons and Furia. So, or like from winning the previous
Yes.
league
Sorry,
event,
I've
like
pulled
those
it up now. I've pulled
they
it
were the
up.
buys.
Furia
Yeah,
and Black Dragons came in through previous editions of Gamers Club Liga.
of League of Feminina, right?
Yeah.
So they won. Fury won first edition, and Black Dragons won second edition,
Yeah.
and that's when B4 had to use the stand-in for the grand final of League of Feminina, and then Black Dragons beat them 2-1.
Right.
So Fury had to, or B4 had to come to the closed qualifier, and they did so with Endgame. They did so with W7M, and I believe Independence was the other team. And the bracket kind of played out the way you would have thought. Like B4 went on to the winner's side, lost to go down to the loser side. Like the Independence kind of went there straight away. I think Independence 0-2'd, but they were competitive in like one of the maps, and I think W7M went down there. They played really tight, but they still got 0-2'd, I believe, and eventually it was MIBR B4. They played out a good series. B4 beat him, I think 2-1. I wanted to say, and then we had the rematch of in the grand final, right, for the best of three. So because the whole upper bracket was best of one. So um, the interesting thing about this is this was the coming of, I don't even want to say the coming of age of Poppins because she's not even of age yet. She's only 16. But this was like the first big look at how good this player is going to be, right?
Yeah.
And um, you know, Lucy said it on a stream over the qualifier. Actually, we were talking about it. I think I can't remember if it was one of the NA streams or the EU streams, but she said she really rates Goddess as an in-game leader, and you can see why in this tournament. They made some really good mid-round calls, especially on Ancient. Really good fakes. They would get a pick on B, and then they would throw the utility a little bit to try and look like they were going to capitalize on the pick, but then send most of the units out towards like mid and get into A after the CTs have already rotated off site. Like some incredible mid-round calling in this series, and B4 wound up beating MIBR. They played Ancient. What else did they play? They played the old patch. Anubis wasn't
They
in
played
this.
Dust 2 and Nuke.
Us two
They
and Nuke.
played Dust
Yes.
2 and Nuke, yeah. Final map was
Yeah.
Overpass, but it didn't get there.
Right. So, um, but yeah, I mean, it was really, really good, and uh, everything was tight. Like it was such intense Counter Strike too. I mean, like the rounds were on a knife edge, the game were on a knife edge. B4 were up pretty significantly,
Yeah.
and then MIPR were making a roaring comeback really late. Like, and they looked absolutely unstoppable. It was something like on the CT side, B4 had like 5 or 6 rounds to start the half,
Yeah.
and they were up like 13-8 or something like that, or 14-8. And Furia just they called their timeouts and they just started this momentous comeback. And before it felt like before had to scrape for every single round they got. but eventually, right towards the end, they got it over the line, and they beat uh, Emma or Fury in a best of three. And Poppins won the tournament MVP. She had a
Yeah,
fantastic performance. She was tournament MVP, and they beat Furia for the title. Like that,
that's
that is a
huge. That's
big
amazing, right?
achievement. Especially considering how good Furia have been. I mean, it's a really incredible achievement.
Yeah. I mean, let me throw some numbers out here because I did find the page for it on Wikipedia. We'll throw
Right,
it out here. The upper bracket final was Furia versus B4.
right.
Furia 16-1.
Yep.
That was the best of one up top. It was Overpass
Yeah. Yeah.
and Furia absolutely wrecked house. B4 come back with
Yeah.
a 2-0 in the lowers, and then they come in and it was a 16-11 on the third map. So they'd lost the first map and they had to win on both Vertigo and Ancient. Dust 2 went the way of Furia. So that's kind of where it speaks. And Poppins was a plus 24 in that series,
Yeah.
that final
It was
series.
really, she was really good.
Olga
She
was
was
the
so
next closest at plus 19. And Poppins wasn't even the highest rated. Like Olga was highest rated at
yeah,
1.42, but
yeah.
Poppins had more of an impact, I guess, overall, and was a 1.33.
It raises the same question that Impact seasons 1 and 2 kind of raised. That is like how much of the like I feel it's a very harsh comparison to make,
Yeah.
Parks. So forgive me for making it. And if you've watched this episode by any chance, forgive me for making it. But I feel like this is simple on that old Navi lineup
Yeah.
with
Seized
yeah, who was the in-game
Zeus.
leader? Yes. Was it Zeus?
Yeah, it was Zeus.
Yeah.
Was it before Zeus came in? I don't remember who the IGL
No, it
was
was that
before Zeus.
remember like he had like 5 frags on Mirage through overtime
So you're
or
saying it's
something
like
like that?
Hooksy.
He just wanted tier 1 land. So you can't throw that out the window.
JKS won
But
that land, not Hooksy.
listen, throw it out the window. He's got the trophy. But like I feel like it's that. Like I feel like this player is like Olga has to carry so much. And she said it before, like she wouldn't be anywhere without Gabi or her teammates. And I'm like, that's fine, right? But like
Where's
something
where's
else has
where's the
something
team
else has
play
to give
coming
to
in
a
now?
firepower. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Something I feel like it's almost reminiscent of watching CLG, right?
Yeah.
Like remember CLG like season 1 where you're like there just seems to be a little bit of firepower missing somewhere. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like just these players are all really good. You look at them, you go, oh, maybe Yuli. No, Yuli's really good entry. Emmy, oh no, Emmy's got sick game. Oh, and it's like where's but something's not clicking with the firepower. I feel like Fury has hit that wall, and I don't know how they get over it, but
They bring in Poppins.
they ain't gonna bring in Poppins.
They're not gonna.
B4 not letting go Poppins. B4 signed her
Yeah.
before she was 16 because I think she could compete in like Gamers Club. I think the age requirement was fine for Gamers Club,
Yeah.
but it wasn't for ESL. So they had to like
They had a stand
use
in
her for the Gamers
essentially.
Club, but they had
Yeah.
to wait her for season 1 and like use yeah. So it was it was a what do you call it? But my point is like they it's like the Stewie situation. You know what I mean? Remember when
Sign
Stewie
him. Yeah,
dropped
they
he
signed
signed
him
for
young, and now he's coming into his own.
yeah,
That's what's happening
yeah.
with Poppins. She's coming into her own now that she's had time on the roster, and they're kind of getting set
Right.
up for that.
Right. The comparison being that Stewie told Cloud9 he was 100% going to sign for him
Yeah.
when he was 18. And the day he turned 18, because he didn't need his parents' permission anymore, he signed the contract. Like that's what it's like for Poppins almost, right? It was so it's like, it it's a really good it's just a really good up and coming store like player. Like this
Yeah.
like before if they play like they did in this tournament at Katowice, watch out. Like I
Yeah.
don't think they'll beat Nigma, but they they could certainly be the runners up of that tournament.
There's potential for a Brazilian derby. That's right there.
Darby,
A derby.
Darby,
Derby.
Darby, Darby.
I was going derby, not derby.
It's English, so it's spelled Derby, but pronounced Darby.
All right. Well, speaking of English, we will leave the Portuguese and Spanish to their own, and we'll come to NA.
Right.
Big weekend. I can personally attest to 5 days in a row of Counter Strike.
Yes, you
Of
guys
casting.
are legends.
Listen, I only managed to do one best of three. Snicky deserves a lot of praise for
Oh
being
yes,
in England
you're
and doing a
right. Yeah,
best of three for 2 nights when I
Yeah.
couldn't, like, I would do a best of one. The way we came up with it was I could not do a best of three in the night because it was too
Right.
late for me. So I would do the best of one, get kind of everybody together, and then instantly raid Snicky, and that gave him time to set up his stream and everything. Because we
Yeah.
were
No,
trying to give him more assets to use this time around because
you
he's
could
looking for
tell.
better stuff.
Yeah, I saw he was using the LCA stuff too. You could tell that he like it was well coordinated. So
Yeah,
like and that he planned. So like what you guys did over this past week deserves a lot of accolades. Really, it was fantastic.
yeah, and I mean, it what a crescendo. So, well,
Yeah.
we got to
Oh my
talk about
God, wow, that's true.
we got to talk about the steps to get there though. First time around, we had you have to think about it. If you look at NA, you have
Right.
5 teams that are really on the up, like the 5 really good teams, and 4
Right.
that can kind
Same.
of play each other on any day. There's CLG Red, which just wins, right? And
Right.
then you've kind
Right.
of
They're
got the
not
rest of
only
the
up.
hand.
They
They
are
are
up.
up.
Like,
They're the
yeah.
thumb in this hand.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
And then you've got your EG Gold, your Please
Right.
Send Box, your Valkyries, and your Saints.
And
And
you're
these
saying,
three
yeah.
are playoff are perennial playoff teams. They've been all 4 of these guys have been to playoffs every single time so
Right.
far in ESL Impact. Saints are the one that they only just started for season 2 and they nearly qualified, but it was a little bit close between Valkyries, and Valkyries ended up taking it.
Yeah.
And Valkyries ended up
Yeah.
third that
I
for the
think they
season, by the
swapped
way.
the regular season series too. Like it was really, it's really
Yes,
tight when
yes,
they.
they did. It's very tight when they play. This time around, because there was no CLG Red, that's your top 4 teams coming in. There was, I believe, 11 teams that signed up for the first qualifier.
Great.
Liquipedia only has,
Fantastic.
yeah, great, right? Liquipedia only shows the top 4, of course, though, because that's where the significant stuff comes in, and
Right.
that's where you're gonna get your names. Otherwise, you kind of a lot of jumbling stuff, and you have to remember, Liquipedia is a volunteer service. They're
Right.
not gonna get
I
everything.
don't begrudge like a Pete for putting
No,
top
no,
4 on
no.
the qualifier.
At least they have
Like
something,
like
right?
because the reason is like that happens all the time. Like
Yeah,
that is actually a normal or standard as opposed to the point I was making with
yeah.
HLTV where
Where
it
it's
was
just
like it
nothing.
seemed like yeah,
There was,
it
yeah,
seemed like what would qualify this if it was a men's tournament or or a tier 2 tournament suddenly doesn't qualify for a women's tournament, right? Like
yes.
that was the point.
Yeah, no, for sure. So coming into the first qualifier, it was EG number 1 seed, Please Send Box second seed. EG went on to face Valkyries. They won 16-8. 16-8. It was the same scoreline for the Box and the Saints. So the Saints were knocked out, as were Valkyries. Uh, Perennial finalists. Like, it seems like these two are always butting heads against
Yeah,
each
like
other.
this is the matchup you would. This is chalk.
Yeah, this
This is
is
the
what you
matchup you would
expect.
chalk.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And EG Gold ended up taking it. It was very, very close, though. It was
it
a
was a good series,
16-9. Overpass did not look good.
right?
It was a 16-9. That ancient match was insane. It was a 19-16 in the favor of the
Yeah,
Box, and that was already crazy enough. And then it
yeah,
was a 16-13 on Inferno. EG go on to play the decider on Sunday. Please and Box have to try again. And that's where we come to on the second qualifier
yeah.
with Weedem Girls and Hello. Two teams that had participated in the first qualifier now because some of the other teams were there. There's a notable name missing in this. I'm going to tell you, you're going to find out which one it is because the other two face off against each other. Valkyries
Okay,
and Saints played each other in the other
right.
semifinal. So it's Weedem Girls, Hello, Valkyrie,
And
and
the
Saints,
and the missing name is
the
Please Send
Box.
Box. Yeah,
So that was a big upset day one.
yeah.
The
And
Box did not even make it
they
to.
lost to We Dem Girls, right?
Yes, they lost to Weedem Girls. Weedem Girls
Who,
played Overpass twice. So
for all intents and purposes, We Dem Girls played a pretty good tournament. Like they played some of their better Counter Strike in this tournament. Like
listen, the craziest part of this Weedem Girls roster is Kung Fury has disbanded at this point. Like, they've kind of all gone their
right,
separate
yeah,
ways.
they're gone.
It's they've blown it up. So the Weedem Girls roster coming into this was a significantly different. It had some components. It had
What's the
Bungie,
roster?
Lin, and Chowds. Those are Valorant players. Lin has been, of course, around with Low Fidelity.
Yes, I would say though, Bungie played Counter Strike 2019, 2020, so
So there's
definitely
some experience there.
there's experience there. And LX was on
Low Fidelity.
yes,
Oh, and
and
Gen G, sorry, in Valorant.
yes, and when you and I talked about it previously, I remember we said player's actually pretty good.
Yes, she
Like
is very, very
Lynn is
good.
really good. Yeah,
Um, the other two players, and you'll love this, I think. Kianetta and Sapphire played on We Dem Girls,
classic.
and listen, they still look so good. It's so
Yeah,
sad that they don't get to play because of work commitments and other stuff. Like,
right.
these are two
Yeah, it
really
is.
good players that could just
Yeah,
it. anyways, it boggles my mind, and I hate that it's like that. But um,
But I'm happy that they could look at one-off tournaments
yeah,
like
and just
Katowice
qualifiers
and
that they want
say
to play for fun.
we're gonna play, yeah,
Yeah, it's
or we're gonna
perfect.
play for the chance because like it's one of those things where like maybe they can't commit to an 8 or 6 week season plus playoffs, so 7 weeks,
Yeah.
and then the land. But you know, if we play this one weekend, I'm free. Maybe I'll be able to get off work for
Hey,
Katowice.
let's play cash
Maybe
cups
go to
if we have the
Katowice.
time.
Yeah,
Like let's let's
exactly.
let's
So
get potentially teach some of the up and comers, bring some rosters together, potentially just having fun. That's the great part.
yeah,
So
yeah,
We Dem Girls did beat Hello. It was a 16-1.
yeah,
16-10 for the Saints to be Valkyries. That match is a lot closer, and it always is. Like we said, we have the two kind of barn burner matches. We have Police and Box and EG, and we have the Saints and Valkyries. Those are the kind of two setups, aside from EG or CLG, sorry, at the top. Um, and in the end, Saints did come out on top of that match. They looked. It was very close on Inferno. Overpass was a 16-10, and I don't know. It seemed like the Saints had it in the control pretty much the whole time, even with how
right.
close the score lines were. Saints, they had control of it. They knew what they were doing, and it kind of showed that We Dem Girls was put together as a pug. It's one of those things that just like over a longer period of time,
Yeah,
that stuff kind of gets sorted out in a best of three.
yeah, exactly. You could see that, like Saints. This is a team that's been drilling, practicing together. Weedham girls. This is a very experienced side. It's comparable to Giuliano's side. The unexpected that played in the European qualifier. I don't know if you saw
Yeah,
that, but Giuliano came back with Cressy
yeah,
and played in the Euro qualifier, and I'm like, oh shit, what a throwback this is! This is fantastic to see him, by the way. But like obviously they haven't been in the game for a while. Obviously, they're still like we talk about rust, right? But you have to have a blade first before rust comes onto it, right? You know what
yes,
I'm trying to say?
yeah,
Like
yeah. You have
there
to have
is
something
still
there.
some underlying level of skill and knowledge and understanding that they bring to the table. And it's great to see that with them girls. But and you can see that's what carried them to that point, that semifinal. But a team that's been drilling together that has the synergy is always going to be in a better position. They're not always going to win, but they're always going to be in a better position to win. And
Yeah.
that's kind of what happened.
So that leaves us to the decider on Sunday, best of three,
Yeah.
EG versus Saints, and
Yeah.
oh my goodness, what a series! Well, just prefacing everything, what a
Uh,
series between the two.
kind of like maps 2 and 3 weren't really that like they weren't
Map three was no, Map three
blowouts.
was crazy. Map three was crazy. Map one and two, I agree, were a little bit
Well,
okay. We
map
kind of
one
know
was
where this is
close.
going.
Map one was pretty close.
It was a
Was it map?
16-9. Map one was
Okay,
16-9 on Inferno,
okay,
and it didn't look like Saints were in it at all.
okay. Yeah, that's
Overpass
true.
was the reverse, where Saints were in it, and EG just didn't kind of look like they were there at all.
Which before you get to map three,
Yeah,
EG on overpass. This is a map that used to be a really strong map for this team, and we saw them absolutely fumble the bag at Sweden, and now they fumble the bag here as well. Like this is not. I don't know
something
what's
has
happened
happened
with
with
this
their
map.
system on Overpass that
Yeah,
just doesn't
yeah.
work anymore. And I don't know if it's a meta. The meta has changed with the rifles on the CT side, or if it's something in the
It is.
system. I don't think it is either. I think it's a system change that they made in terms of how they play the map. How they play the map that's really kind of killed it for them. But yeah, then
I
we get to
agree.
the final map, and listen, it can't be NA without playing Inferno, Overpass, and Mirage or any kind of variance. So
Right.
of course they stick with Mirage on this as the third map, and it goes 16-14. Do you want to know how many
Oh, that was a
rounds?
close map.
Do you want to know how many rounds Saints won in a row to win that map? I counted.
8? Was it 8?
It was 7. They won 7 rounds in a row. It was 13-8. They lost 14-8. They won 7. Or sorry, yeah, it was
No,
18.
that's 8. That's
That's
8
8.
rounds.
No,
Yeah,
no,
if it's
no.
14, if it's 14-8, you gotta
I'm
you
checking the
double
round now.
8,
I'm
you get
checking the match. I'm
16.
checking the match now because I said it was
Uh,
7. No, but I said on broadcast. I remember saying they needed 7 rounds in a row to win. I'm just gonna make
edit
sure
that
here.
out. Broadcast.
And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, I was
Ping,
right. 7.
tactical edit, and this pops like yeah, 7,
Rounds.
9.
I was right. So it was
Okay. So it was like
14-9,
14-9.
14-9,
Yeah.
14-9, and they won 7 rounds in a row.
Yeah.
And
It's the equivalent of what Furia couldn't do on Ancient.
yes,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
Furia, I was at one point, I think it was like 13-8 or something like that, or 13-7 at the half, and then Furia came right back and it was 13-13, and you're like, oh my god. So
It's crazy. So that so Saints won. Saints won
Yeah, that's
a massive. I think we gotta
qualifier to the following statement.
qualifier.
Saints won.
The Saints won.
Yeah. Yes.
Um, and they're I believe at this point now they're the only unsigned team left.
Yes. That was going to be my thing. Two points.
Yeah,
First on EG was going to be all just absolutely threw it away. There's no other way to put it. Like it just you threw it away.
it was there and it's
Uh,
gone.
yeah, exactly. And it's gone. Second point is somebody sign this team, please.
Yes,
Like
I'm.
Saints are a good team. Like this is a good team. They've been in Impact. They're competitive in the Impact scene in North America.
Yeah,
I think they have one, maybe two Cash Cup wins overall.
a few.
It's
They have
really
a few. They have a few.
yeah. It's not I mean, it's not on the level of EG.
They're
It's not on the
not. They're
level of
not. They're
Fox.
not
It's not
playing
on the
every
level of
week either,
Field.
which is one of those things. Like they don't
Right.
play every single week.
But
They only play when they're
right.
available, and that's that's
Right.
one other thing.
But this is a team that if you're going into season 3, this is the way they're performing. By all means, they're worth a look.
Here, put it
Like
this way: they have put up a notice in. Matt does this with the LCA stuff for the season stuff. He's Jake Cranny, one of the players, and I guess in a way the team captain, kind of with all the stuff she does for them. Um,
yeah.
she's put out a thing saying, "Hey, like we're looking for an organization up there," and it
Yeah.
lists like what they're
I
looking
I
for and everything
I
like that.
did see that on the doc. The only qualified I don't mean to be a curmudgeon is I don't think they're gonna get everything they're asking.
No,
They're gonna have to really
but
like
they're
this is a team
asking
that
for it,
100% can find an org, but they've got to compromise on what they're asking for because right now
which
they're asking for the world and the moon, and it's like you gotta
you need one or the
scope
other.
it down a little
And
bit. Yeah.
listen, it never be scared to shoot for the moon because you'll end up
Oh,
in the stars. So
always start at the high and negotiate down.
and
Always, always.
and there you go, right? That's what they're looking for. So Saints going to Katowice is huge. There was jokes in who's going to be their coach going to the match because they don't really have one. They're kind of just using whoever is around. I'm
Wait, what? They don't have a coach? Is that
They
what you
didn't really have a coach. Yeah, they just kind of
well,
had to
I
fit.
mean,
They had a sixth player in, or was it a sixth player? They had somebody there to act as their coach. Like they took match pause and they had a coach there. I'm not sure if he's actually their coach or she's actually their coach,
I think
but
I think Cube's in Sweden. Now call him.
there you
Throwback,
go.
throwback.
But yeah,
Cube, old
that's
CLG Red coach.
so yes, Saints in Katowice, the only unsigned team. A lot of eyes are going to be on them because of that, and I don't think I'm going to temper my expectations here. I'm not saying they're winning.
Yeah,
I'm not. I'm. They're probably going to get grouped. In all honesty, they'll probably get
yeah.
grouped.
I think you put the same expectation on them that you put on Police
ATK.
and Help in the first.
Yeah, and please send
Well,
help.
yeah, I would say Police and Help in the first land
Yeah,
at Dallas. Like you're probably going out last place, but
keep it
if you
competitive.
get to sixth, that's an achievement.
Yeah,
Like by all means, you
even just keeping it
could get
competitive in those matches. Like, don't get
yeah.
blown out. That's kind of where you're sitting. Is just have fun with it,
Yeah, the
but keep
more
it
I think
competitive.
about it, they are kind of like the odd man out. They're the odd woman out in the pool, aren't they? Like,
They are.
and I mean that by no offense, but like Nine Pandas, so good. Navi's so good. Nigma, CLG, HSG, if they play anywhere close to what they did in Sweden before Furia, you
There's
wouldn't
it's like
prefer them against any of those 7 teams in the
it's
best of
the it's death it's like the death row of the best teams that you can possibly face. Every single match is gonna be a challenge. Anyways,
yeah.
that's I'm excited for them. But beyond
I
that,
am
I
too.
am so
Like,
excited for them. I'm
look,
so happy for them.
can I speak candidly
Yeah,
for a
yeah,
minute?
yeah.
I understand. I wanted DG to win the series. I'm a fan of Jess. I'm a fan of Milk. I like the fact that they got signed to EG. I think those players deserve it, and I wanted EG to win. I was rooting for EG. I have nothing against the Saints team. I am very happy that they got the land. It's going to be an incredible experience for these players. And if you look at some of these players, you look at Olya, you look at Paula. These are players that have been improving their game. They've really been dedicating a lot of time because they want to become more competitive, and this is what they've achieved. Like they've earned this spot every step of the way. So congratulations, more power to them. Like it's fantastic that we're seeing different teams that land, right? Because even from Europe, one of the great things that Impact has brought us is yes, we have had Furious, CLG, and Enigma the whole way. They're the best 3 in the world right now. Well, at least Fury and Enigma are the best 2. CLG, I wouldn't really put third
CLG are
anymore.
there most of the time,
They're in the
They're in the
conversation for third.
conversation, but a lot of it
But
is
I
because of other things.
right, but the point is like those 3 are the giants, right? Man City, You know, like that
Man
kind of
City,
stuff.
Man United, Liverpool.
Arsenal, or okay, I was gonna say Man City, Arsenal, Liverpool. But the point
Anyways,
is, like, they're the big three. But then, like, we've had Big Akipa. Now we have Navi. We've had we got Nine Pandas. Now we've had B4 and MIBR
yeah,
and Black Dragons, although it was the same team, granted, but
yeah.
still. Now with North America, we've had EG and we've had
Saints.
well,
And please
Saints
send help at one point.
and technically Mind Freak.
Yeah.
I'm claiming it.
I'll claim it too.
I'm not claiming it.
Yeah.
But the point is, like we've had a variety in this middle tier that's been very competitive, and that's what's made following these tournaments around the regions of the world. Because I know you follow South
South
Africa as well a
Africa,
little bit,
yep.
but that's what's made it really a lot of fun. Is because we're seeing the competitiveness, maybe not at the top, but certainly at the underlying level, start to really bubble up.
Yeah.
And it's only a matter of time before these teams are really going to get tired of like constantly swapping series, and somebody's going to want to put their foot down and say, "Screw it, we're going to be the best," and they're just going to grind it out. And when they do that, then they're going to be challenging the CLGs and the Furias and all that stuff. So it's been fantastic. This is Saints making this land is proof of that, and I think it's fantastic.
Yeah.
It'd be even more fantastic to see if they had an org behind them at the land. That'd be awesome.
Hey man, there's a lot of big NA orgs. We-
Hey,
I had an
get
old
Vindy on
member.
the phone right now. Get Vindy on the
Here's the craziest thing about this whole thing, and this is a whole side story on this. Throughout the chat, I had there was like 240 people, some odd, at some points during the match,
It's really
especially
good.
towards the
Yeah,
end.
it's
Yeah, it
really
was
good.
great. Somebody came in. I cannot verify who it is at all. I don't know if they were saying the truth or anything.
Okay.
They mentioned they had been playing on the original Complexity female roster 12 years ago, and they named every single other player on the roster.
Who do you
I
remember
think
the
it was
username?
Lydia or something. I could not.
I
I gave
believe
them
so.
a
I believe
VIP on the
so. Yeah.
channel.
Was that the one with like Ali?
I could
Was
not
that
tell
the
you.
old? Was that the old Girl Scout game lineup right
I
before they
have no
signed for
idea.
SK?
I have no idea.
Oh my god,
But she came in. She's like, oh my.
that predates me,
She
bro.
just she just came in. She's like, man, after 12, I think it was because Chow was talking about who should sign Saints, and
Yeah.
then everybody's like, oh yeah, Complexity should do it. And nobody said Liquid. I don't know why, but anyways, it's just a little thing. It was like one of the old Complexity players from 12 years ago was in the
Yeah.
chat and was just like, yeah, I played on that Complexity roster. I went, what? Like that's such a
Fantastic,
weird
by
thing to
the way.
see.
I just pulled up. Oh no, hold on, that's Valorant. Sorry,
No, it's all good.
I'm not. I'm trying to find it. Like I'm
Yeah,
trying
man.
to find that old. Oh god, what was that
We got a
lineup?
bit of time. If you
Maybe.
can't find it, you can't find it. We'll move on.
Yeah.
We'll have it sit in our minds, and
Mhm.
then eventually we'll comment it on the video and just be like, we found out who it was.
Yeah.
I can always just go
I
back and
was
look at
not
my VIP
awake. I'm
list as
sorry. I
well.
was
No, it's all
asleep.
good.
I was so asleep.
Dude, you popped in early and it popped off later in the night. Speaking about popping off, uh,
Yeah.
team who didn't, EG. Listen.
Yeah.
We talked a lot about them. We talked a lot about Saints winning, and that's the good side of the story. The kind of worrisome, scary side of the story is the lack of a result from EG yet again.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's something that has come up a lot, not just within the female scene, but across all of their matches. I believe they went 0-3 on Sunday across their teams. They lost in
Okay.
ECL. They lost in the Cash Cup.
Okay.
I think they went fourth. So they still qualified for Katowice because they had the points
Yeah,
for
I
it.
saw that announcement today,
Um,
which is surprising because I really don't follow Tier 1 anymore.
oh,
But
there's Benny, you would love it. There was so much number crunching going on to determine
I
if
did see those
that
tweets.
that
Yeah.
stuff was so. Oh my goodness, that made me so happy
That
to see.
stuff's
Just
cool. Like I like that stuff. People are like, "Oh, I hate convoluted formats and all that stuff."
no, that makes so much sense to have a points based system to get people to play games. Like I don't.
Yeah.
Anyways,
And can cash cups.
yeah, amazing. And then of course EG Gold lost in towards the finals against Saints to decide who would go to
Yeah.
Katowice. So they went 0-3 on the night of the four teams
Yeah.
they have. And the fourth team
The old
didn't play. The only reason they didn't go 0-4 is because the fourth team could not play. There was not enough competitions.
Right. They the old points based system reminds me of Super Gamer Girl Pro. Remember they used to run like a 10-week tournament
I have
series?
no
And
idea what you're talking about, Penny.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Well, maybe for
I'm
another
so
episode.
sorry. Another
Maybe
episode.
for another episode.
Another
It was an
episode.
online series during 2020. I actually really liked the format. It was basically 10 weeks. Every position pays points,
Yeah.
but obviously, if you win, you get more points. But it encourages just signing up week after week after week, and then they would take the top like 4 teams and fly them to land. So like even if you weren't the best team, you could still get there by being consistent. But um, yeah, look with EG, and we're getting a little bit close to time here, but
Yeah.
with EG, this is really disappointing. Like the expectation is that you have to make the land,
Yeah.
and there's definitely been a problem with the team. I believe, remind me if I'm wrong, but I believe Onter used to be their coach, and
He is
now
their coach. He is their coach
he's
still.
still their
Alter
coach.
is their coach still. Yeah.
I thought he left,
No,
but
that was Enfo Hip from Police and Box. I think that you're thinking
oh, that's
about.
right, that's right. So something in the system has definitely changed, and it's just not working. There's a confidence crisis, I think, at EG. I think that's the main problem, is that now that expectations are weighed upon them, there is a confidence crisis, and something has to give. There is always that one loss where change is like it just brings in change. And I
Yeah.
think unfortunately this might be the loss. I don't want to speculate. I'm not that kind of guy. I am that kind of
You are that kind of
I
guy.
won't.
Do
Yeah,
not deny that.
but I won't. But like you saw, like even the things like the World Cup, right? A team
Yeah,
doesn't perform as well as the World Cup. The coach goes. It's time for changes. Blah blah blah
they
blah blah blah
happen.
blah. This might be that moment. And the one, if I can speak very free, the one that I would recommend is I think you do have to make some personnel changes, but I think the problem is there's too many to make in one go. I don't think you just uproot everything. I think you tinker and
You
then
have
you
to tinker a
adjust.
bit. Yeah.
So I think Jess should go back to in-game leading. Because as
Yeah.
far as I'm aware, I don't think she is the in-game leading because I think she said she wasn't totally confident in it. But then if you look at the results they had when she was in-game leading versus the results they had when she was not in-game leading, it's like night and day. I mean,
Yeah.
they were taking CLG to overtime. Granted, it was the old lineup where I think it was just after BB got signed, like in,
Yeah. That was sacrifice days when before they had been signed to
right.
EG.
And this is a pug team, and please send help. Before Milk, the veteran player, came in and all that, the plug team that qualified to a LAN
Yeah.
and made fifth, sixth at that LAN, didn't
Yeah.
finish last. So it's like there is definitely potential within her in-game leading skills. She's 100% got to have the confidence to go for it. But I think if you don't want to make just a slap of sweeping changes, you put her back at the in-game leader and then you make two player changes.
Yeah.
But I think I'm not going to say who they should drop. I'm not going to
No.
do that. That's unfair. That's harsh. But I think that might be the first step. However, I don't know what else the issue is. Like the map pool is, I don't know what it is. Like I don't
It,
know what the map pool
I
is.
think. I mean, I think you hit a nail on the head. If there's a confidence issue there, they need to kind of get that back. Maybe it's
Right?
a maybe. I don't want to say this. I really don't. But maybe it is a. We've reached the point where we're making money being players. We have to cut back on it a little. Like we're not. They're not working as hard. Maybe there's not
I
so much of a
I got the
grind
same
coming with
feeling.
there.
You're not alone.
It's the and I don't want to be that guy saying, "Oh, you're not working hard enough." Like I don't know their situation at all. I have no idea what's
Right.
happening. We're
Right.
sitting on the outside looking at the results, and they aren't getting any results that really are going to anywhere. Like
Right.
they went to Sweden, right? They 6-0'd in their group. They won 2-0 against Valkyries to make it in towards the finals. Or sorry, to make it to the LAN, and they got there, and it fell flat. Complete, like it fell
Right.
flat. There's no other way to say it.
Right.
It fell flat. They lost against HSG. They lost against
Yeah.
CLG Red, and
Don't sugarcoat the Sweetland. It was a horrific
it was bad.
performance.
They
It
won
was
13
awful.
rounds,
Yeah, in three maps.
three
It was
maps,
awful.
13 rounds.
Absolutely awful.
Um,
But
so
God,
yeah, you have to look at that and say what are the issues? Is it
right.
and listen, a lot of it is maybe they have to look inside themselves and figure out, listen, we need to go back to an older system or something needs to change. You kind of have to Virtus Pro it a bit where you have this set 5, you got to switch some things around. Like they switched
Yeah.
Piggy Kiki to Opping instead of Empathy. That looked really good because now you have
That did
Empathy
look
back
yeah,
on the
that's true.
the rifle, and Piggy Kiki had a lot of really good rounds on the op.
But empathy's not a bad offer. Like that's
No,
what I'm saying. Like
this is the thing, right?
Yeah.
they have the interchangeability. They need to tinker. This is not the time to go set in like, oh, you were signed because you were the op, or you were signed because you were the IGL. Play around with it a bit. Figure out
Maybe.
what's going to work. Make it like get towards the point where it's better. And if it really becomes into a dire strait, you have to make the changes. You make the
Yeah.
changes.
Yeah. Yeah. You certainly got time to play during the off season to improve.
Yeah,
Like you could look at individual players. Like I look at like I look at I don't want to point Jess out because God forbid she's so
you love
sweet.
her.
I do. She's a great player. One of my
you're
favorite
you're a
players.
part of the Justice cult. Yeah.
But uh like I look at who she was as a player, like how she was as a rifler
Yeah.
when she first was in Please Send Help, right? And then I look at like that overtime game, which to me was like the peak when she said
Yeah.
she literally went in a deathmatch server and she said I'm not disconnecting till I get 1,000 kills.
Yeah.
I'm fucking dying. And there's my one swear for the episode. But you know, and she did that. But then when she played the way she played in that series, she was incredible. They lost that series, but it's like that was a really close series. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? She played some of her best Counter Strike. Now she's kind of slipped back between peak level and when she first started. So it's like where, but like you can point like
How far does the regression go? I think is
but and that's my point. But like I look at other players, but I'm like, and I can still look at her and say she's definitely made an improvement from where she was at the start of the year. She
yeah.
should be very happy with how the year overall turned out. I mean, she came in, she never played she wasn't playing the game competitively. She got signed to an organization. She went to a LAN. She went to two LANs. Sorry, finished fifth, sixth at the one. Like that's incredible. Take nothing away from that. But then I look at like the individual skills, some of the other players, and I'm like, where's the improvement on them? I don't know if I can point to that. And I like the idea, yes, like Piggy Kiki looked good on the op, but then like Empathy's a really good opper. So maybe you bring in some double op strategies where Kiki's running the alternative op. Maybe you start to recognize some spawn plays, like in Dust 2, like we saw with B4 and Yuger back, not in this last
Yeah.
Masters from Nina, but the one before that when it was a LAN. By the way, I forgot. I thought this previous one 2 weekends ago was a LAN. It was online.
Yeah.
Um, but still, like maybe you bring in something where she plays a secondary role, like definitely, like you said, make changes within the team. Don't change the team members. But it's got to be like
There is a breaking point.
yeah,
There will be a
like
breaking point, and once they hit that breaking point, you
now
have to
the
do
jobs
something.
are on the line. Yeah, the jobs are on the line going into the. So that's what I think needs to be the point. So we'll see. It's extremely disappointing given the bar that they set previously in the year. Um, everybody goes through that sophomore phase, man. This is
Yeah.
their sophomore phase. They gotta
It happens.
yeah, and some teams are good and players are good enough to get past of it. Some do not. So the next 3 months are going to be the telling months, really,
Yeah.
for this side.
All right. So that is all the time we got. That's all the points we really have. It is the end of the year.
Yeah,
That's where we're at.
yeah.
Nothing to
I'm
watch.
excited for next
There's
episode
nothing
already,
to
man.
watch.
There's nothing to watch.
There's
No,
nothing to
there's
watch.
the
Everything's
ball
over.
drop, bro. The
Everything
ball
is
drop.
done. The
Yeah,
ball drop,
gotta
the
watch
new
the
year.
ball drop.
Next episode will be the last of season 1. And we're in the
Yeah.
works on that, so do keep an eye on our socials on that because there's a lot of cool stuff that we're going to try and do.
We have some stuff in the
We're
works.
thinking,
It's
you know,
gonna
we're
be
getting
good.
there.
It's gonna be good.
Any shout outs you want to say, Benny, before we go? I know.
Uh, look, all the usual suspects. The players, of course, are fantastic. I mean, this scene is nothing without them. Um, and then of course you and Snicky. I'm sorry I haven't been able to be there for you
Oh,
guys
it's fine.
in the past month, but I'm excited for 2023, man. And shout out to Newt. Those seriously, those BFI powered stats are incredible, man. I love that. So everybody in the scene that really puts it together, Milk, Newt, you, me, Snicky, like uh
All the
Pip.
casts, all the other
By the
casters that
way,
come through, yeah.
real short because I am trying so much to convince Snicky to come to Dallas because if Pip goes, you go, I go, and Snicky goes,
That's all the
we
NA
gotta have a
casters.
photo. We gotta have a
Yeah.
photo of the four of us that says "Your NA Women CS:GO casters." And it's just us four, man. That's
Yeah.
what I want. That we all go out drinking. It's like
Perfect. Well, I mean, you hit it on. I was going to shout out Snicky. I'm also going to shout out the Saints players because they've been amazing in towards how
yeah,
they've treated me in terms of all the casters. Like every single player I've talked to, I have had no bad interactions with anybody. It's so nice. I don't know how they interact with each other. I don't care. They interact nicely with me. That's all I care about, and that
So
makes
good
my
for you.
job. It makes our lives so much easier. So
Yes.
shout out to all the players. Shout out to all the staff. Amazing staff, by the way. On the weekend, they did a lot of good work.
Yes.
Shout out to Snicky, of course. Shout out to the LCA guys for helping us with this
Shout out to
podcast
Dustin
stuff.
for covering the qualifiers.
Perfect way to end. We will see you in the new year. Please have a safe time wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and we'll see you in the new year with something really, really cool. Till then, bye for now.